What is up, guys? So I thought of a new book series we can do, and we all love mythology, obviously, and so mythology has a lot of takes on a lot of things, and so on this inaugural episode that we are going to begin, we're going to take a look at mythology on the origins of the human species. So where I'm getting this from, if you're curious and you want a mythology book, it is from this one. Epic, let's see if I can read it. Yeah, Epic Greek Myth and Tales. And Epic Tales, Greek Myths and Tales. So I think, and I do believe, if I am correct and I remember right, I got this from, it's either Second and Charles or Barnes and Noble. I used to think it was Second and Charles, and it could be. Or you may find it at Barnes and Noble. Either way, I'm sure Amazon has it. But what this series is going to be about is that we're going to look at famous myths every Monday, every other Monday, and see famous myths in the stories they tell and what lessons we can get from it. And the first one I wanted to start with, obviously, would be from the beginning of the human species for episode 1. And so we're going to talk about the different myths in mythology taken from this book, because it goes over a lot of the myths of where did the humanity come from, where did we begin, and then I can throw in my take of where I think we begin. But I think that this book is interesting on the subject because it talks about what Plato said was the origin of humans, what Hesiod said, and so forth. So, and all these little things are short, so let's read and discuss it real fast. So it says the origins of humanity. It says early Greek mythology had no agreed account of the origin of humanity. Sometimes humans emerged from clay, stone, or ash trees. Much later, Plato claimed that the first man was a round ball with 8 limbs, but Zeus cut him in half to form the first man and woman. And I've heard that one before, so that's an interesting take, is that you had a round ball, 8 limbs, so 2 hands, when you cut in half, that made 2 hands for the man and woman, and 2 legs and feet for the man and the woman, and that's when you would get 8. The best known origin tale is that concerning the Titan Prometheus, which I have brought up many a time, who one day made man out of clay and water in the image of the gods, but he had to pay a bold price. So also, before we continue, you're going to see a lot of similarities between Greek mythology and Christianity in the origin of a lot of things, but check this out. We'll continue, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. So back on Prometheus, it says, to help men, Prometheus, whose name means forethought if you didn't know, stole fire from the sun's chariot and took it to earth hidden in a fennel stalk. Zeus was furious. He ordered Hephaestus to make a woman out of clay and send her down to earth. And the first woman's name was Pandora. And for those that didn't know who Pandora, other than the box, she is the first woman. Being made in heaven, she possessed every possible gift, including curiosity. At the home of Prometheus' brother, the slow-witted Epimetheus. So Epimetheus, if you didn't know, means afterthought, was sealed in the jar that Pandora was never to open. So Pandora, as we know, was given the famous box or jar that she was told never to open. Of course, she opened it, so releasing all the suffering and torment and beset human lives to this day. In fear, she replaced the lid, trapping just one thing inside: hope. And the jar became known as Pandoras Box. So much like in the biblical story of the first man and woman and so forth, women are the reason for the fall of man. Just how Eve ate the apple and gave it to Adam, and that's the reason why the world's gone to hell. that, and in mythology, that dumb lady Pandora couldn't stop from opening that box, and she released all the evil into the world. Very misogynist, I know, but it's just the time, you know? So I won't go into that too much, other than to say that they always blame the lady. It's kind of funny and sad in the same way. But that's not the biblical similarity I was referring to. Let's continue. So, as we know, Zeus took revenge on Prometheus. He had him chained to the rock of Caucasus, where an eagle pecked out his liver. Being immortal, he could not die. The liver grew back in the night, and he was tormented to start again the following day. So, Prometheus paid the price for giving fire to man by being chained to the rock, and we all know that story. So it says, now here is where it gets like we've heard before in the Bible and just in general. I mean, this is pretty general story. In another myth, Zeus sent a flood to drown all humans. Deucalion, Prometheus' son, and his wife Pyrrha, daughter of Pandora and Epimetheus, built an ark in which they survived the flood and ended up on Mount Parnassus. They prayed at the Oracle of Delphi and were told to throw stones over their shoulders as they walked. So those tossed by Deucalion turned into men, and then those tossed by Pyrrha into women. Thus the human race was recreated on the earth. Interesting. I've heard historians say that the reason why there's so many flood myths is because there could have been at the time, not that it flooded the earth, but there could have been some kind of massive flood in the general area. I don't know what caused it. I don't remember what they said. But obviously for this to be referenced in not just Greek myth, in Hebrew myth, Christian myth, in all the in-between, it sounds like something actually really happened. I think they say that something did happen that this myth was based on, that the world was flooded. And so people create a myth based on what happened. All right. And now we're going to move on to Hesiod. And so I'm sure some of you have heard this one. So in his works and days, there are 5 ages of humanity. So this is another big one. In the first age, the golden age, people lived in peace and plenty. So the perfect human lived in the golden age. The earth gave its riches freely. Wine flowed from the vine, and milk came of its own accord from cows and sheep. Let's see. Inasmuch as people never grew old, death was no more terrible than falling asleep. In the course of time, the golden age gave way to the silver age. For the first time, the year was divided into seasons, and people had to build houses to protect themselves from winter, wind, and autumn rain. So they've been kicked out of paradise again. So it's kind of, again, how Adam and Eve had everything they could ever want. And then the second generation actually had to work harder than the previous and the perfect first generation. And it says, since all sons were subject to their mothers, there was no cause for war. It was not until the Bronze Age that evil entered people's heart and war started. Interesting. Fear and greed and hatred ruled. Next came the heroic age, when Zeus restored some human virtues in order to see heroes through the Trojan War and other semi-mythical events of early Greek history. But the worst age of all was the Iron Age, when weapons of iron helped people destroy each other. Yet people always lived in hope that the ages would be repeated over time. One day Cronus would return and bring the golden age, or bring it back. And nature would again produce her gifts freely. Snake and weed would lose their poison. Goat and sheep would come home without a need of a shepherd. And sheep would grow fleece in different colors. Interesting. So you have another reference that you hear a lot in a lot of other mythology, that things are bad now, but in the future, there's hope that it's going to get better. In Christianity, they say the lion will lay down with the lamb, kind of thing. So interesting. So on creation, my view, I've said in a few videos, especially recently, I did a video about my philosophy. I think that we evolved in evolution, but to get where we are now, it could be Prometheus, or what you may think of as the spirit of Prometheus, helped us evolve to get, the fire would be us becoming more sentient of technology and the use of tools and all that stuff, and he helped us find that, discover that, and guide us to where we are now, and continues to guide us to evolve even more intellectually. So there you go. A lot of famous myths, and a lot of them have a lot of similarities to other myths of other beliefs, but it's very interesting. So what do you think of the origin of humanity? What are your opinions? You can comment and tell me. And we'll look at another story or another topic of myth discussion in another video on a Monday. I'm not sure if it'll be next Monday or the following Monday, but this is a pretty cool book. It is not written with Hellenic polytheists in mind. They use a lot of the gods were and was, and people did this and that with no thought of it being a real thing today. So don't look into this book thinking that this is another Hellenic polytheist written book. It's not. It's just another book of myths, but a really cool one with an interesting take on myths. Anyway, guys, I will see you later, and hope you guys like this series as we talk about the famous Greek myths. Bye.